DeepSeek just built an AI model that's faster than ChatGPT, costs a fraction to run, and was trained on a budget that would barely fund a San Francisco coffee shop. And I'm not exaggerating. We're talking about a company that spent maybe $50 million to build something that rivals systems that cost OpenAI and Google billions. That's not just impressive. That's a threat to the entire playbook Silicon Valley has been running for the last 2 years. See, the story everyone's been told is that building cutting-edge AI requires insane amounts of money, massive data centers, and only the richest companies on Earth can compete. NVIDIA sells chips for hundreds of thousands of dollars. OpenAI raises billions. Google and Meta pour fortunes into their labs. The narrative is, more money equals better AI, full stop. It's a convenient story for the people spending the billions. But DeepSeek just proved that story might be mostly wrong. Let me be clear what we're actually looking at here. DeepSeek is a Chinese AI lab that released models, particularly there are R1 and V3 variants, that perform at or near GPT-4 level on a lot of benchmarks. They're scoring competitively on reasoning tasks, coding, math, all the stuff that matters. And they did it with training costs that are reported to be somewhere between $40 and $50 million. For context, OpenAI's training costs for GPT-4 are estimated in the billions. We're talking about 100-to-1 difference in spending, and the output quality is nearly identical. Now here's where it gets interesting for Silicon Valley. It's not just about the money. It's about what DeepSeek figured out that everyone else apparently missed. They use something called mixture of experts architecture more efficiently than anyone thought possible. Basically, instead of making one giant neural network that does everything, they built a system where different parts of the model specialize in different tasks. You only activate the parts you need for any given question. It's elegant, it's efficient, and it cuts your compute costs dramatically. They also got really smart about their training data. They weren't just throwing more data at the problem. They were thoughtful about which data actually mattered. They used synthetic data more cleverly. They fine-tuned on reasoning and problem-solving in ways that squeezed more capability per token. It's the kind of thing that sounds obvious in hindsight, but apparently took everyone else longer to figure out. So why is this terrifying to Silicon Valley? Because it breaks the moat. For the last couple of years, the story was that AI supremacy required unlimited capital. If you're OpenAI or Google, you can afford to train models. If you're everyone else, you're buying access from them. It's a comfortable position for the people at the top. But DeepSeek just showed that ingenuity and efficiency can compete with raw spending. A smaller team with better ideas beat a massive team with deeper pockets. That's a problem for the narrative. It's also a problem for the business model. If you don't need to spend billions to build competitive AI, then the cost of entry drops. That means more competition. That means smaller labs and startups can actually compete. That means the AI industry doesn't necessarily consolidate into a handful of trillion-dollar companies. And for the people who've already spent billions betting on that consolidation, that's bad news. There's also a geopolitical angle that's making people nervous. DeepSeek is a Chinese company. The US has been trying to restrict China's access to advanced chips and AI technology. There are export controls, sanctions, all kinds of restrictions designed to keep China behind. But DeepSeek worked around those restrictions. They figured out how to build state-of-the-art models on older, less powerful hardware. That's partly because they're smarter and partly because they had to be. When you can't buy the latest NVIDIA chips, you get creative. And that creativity turned out to be a competitive advantage. For the US government and the companies lobbying them, this is embarrassing. The whole premise of the chip export controls was that you could choke off China's AI progress by controlling the hardware. DeepSeek just demonstrated that the hardware constraints matter less than everyone thought. Better algorithms win. Smarter training wins. Efficiency wins. None of those things require an embargo. Now, I want to be careful here because there's a lot of uncertainty. DeepSeek's benchmarks are impressive, but benchmarks aren't everything. How do these models perform in the real world? How reliable are they? How do they handle edge cases? We don't have months of real-world data yet. It's also possible that some of DeepSeek's efficiency comes from using lower-quality training data or making different trade-offs that we'll discover over time. But even if there are caveats, the core point stands. You don't need to spend billions to build competitive AI. What this actually means is that the AI industry is about to get messy. More competition is coming. Smaller players will emerge. The price of AI access will probably drop. That's good news if you're a user or a developer who wants to build AI products. That's bad news if you're an investor who bet everything on OpenAI or Google dominating the space forever. That's bad news if you're a chip company that thought AI would be an infinite money printer. That's bad news if you're a government that thought you could control the AI race through hardware restrictions. For the rest of us, this is actually really good news. It means AI gets cheaper. It means more people can experiment with it. It means the field gets more competitive, which drives innovation faster. It means we don't have to wait for OpenAI to release a new model every 18 months. It means the technology moves faster because there are more people building it. But here's what's really important to understand. This is just the beginning. DeepSeek proved that efficiency matters more than people thought. Now everyone else is going to copy their approach. They're going to optimize their models. They're going to rethink their training pipelines. And that's going to drive another wave of improvements across the entire field. In 6 months, the models are going to be better. In a year, they're going to be way better. And the cost is going to keep dropping. So if you want to actually understand what's happening in AI, not the hype, not the venture capital narratives, but what's actually changing in the technology and why it matters, this is the kind of stuff you need to know. If you want to keep up with these shifts as they happen, subscribe. I break down one of these moments every few days, and this is exactly the kind of development that changes the whole game.